It's always kind of wild when you start to see like these big power players. They start to kind of, circle each other.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels like right now, in the crypto world especially, there's some major forces at play.
Yeah, yeah.
And it feels like, especially here in the U.S., we might be on the verge of some big shifts in the whole landscape.
Absolutely.
So what we're looking at, and what's got everyone buzzing, are these reports, and they're swirling around, the Trump family.
Right.
And it seems like they've been having some serious discussions about stepping into the American side of, well, honestly, one of the biggest crypto exchanges out there globally. I mean,
That's right. Yeah. And it sounds like it was more than just, kicking the tires. We're talking about, according to these reports, actually trying to get a piece of Binance US.
wow.
Which, if that happens, that's a pretty big statement
Yeah.
about wanting to be a major player here in the US.
Yeah, and this wasn't something that just popped up.
Right.
These reports, they suggest that these conversations, they've been going on since like last year sometime.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems like this big exchange, they've been, actively looking for ways to really dig in here in the U.S. market.
Exactly. And the reports, they give you some context, too. And it sounds like this exchange, they were reaching out to people who are, very close with the former president.
I see.
And it seems like what they were trying to do was, maybe set up some kind of business deal with the Trump family.
Mm-hmm.
And this would all be part of a bigger plan, it seems, to really get back into the U.S. market in a big way, and really solidify their position here.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But, you start to think about that, it raises a whole bunch of questions.
Right.
I mean, the reports even mention that it's not even clear what the stake would even look like.
Right.
Like, would it be a straight up investment?
Mm.
Or maybe something totally different, something more, I don't know, creative? And then, of course, there's this whole thing about a pardon that people are talking about.
Yeah, you can't ignore that.
Yeah.
The report does mention that, nobody really knows for sure what a Trump family stake would look like exactly.
Right.
And then you throw in the possibility of a pardon for CZ. That definitely complicates things.
Yeah. Does
And
it?
it makes you really think about, like, what are all the different reasons this is happening, and what could happen in the future. It's really interesting.
It is. It is. And speaking of CZ, it seems like there's this whole other piece of the puzzle, and it's this DeFi project
Mm-hmm.
called World Liberty Financial.
Mm.
And they're saying that it's got ties to the Trumps, and that maybe this could be the way they make this deal happen.
Yeah.
It's almost like watching people move pieces around on a financial chessboard,
Yeah. Yeah.
Just to be clear, for anyone listening who's not super familiar with all this, when we say DeFi, we're talking about decentralized finance.
Right.
And basically, it's all about using blockchain technology to try to offer these like financial services, but without needing the traditional middlemen like banks and stuff.
Exactly.
So what's interesting here is that if they use something like World Liberty Financial, which already exists, it could make things a lot easier.
Yeah, there could be some strategic advantages there.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it would make things faster or give them some other benefits. But like the report says, we don't know for sure if any of this is actually going to happen.
Yeah, that's true. We're still talking about reports here, but it is interesting that Steve Witkoff, he's been involved in all this, and he's been working with the former president for a long time.
Oh, yeah. If he's involved, that definitely adds some credibility to it all.
Right.
It's not just small talk.
Mm-hmm.
If he's negotiating, it means they're serious about this.
Absolutely.
It's like these two worlds are coming together, the old school business world and then this whole new crypto thing.
Totally. Okay, so let's shift gears a little bit.
Okay.
And talk more about this this whole pardon situation.
Mm-hmm.
Because it seems like CZ, the co-founder of this big exchange we've been talking about,
Right.
he's reportedly trying to get a pardon from the Trump administration.
Yeah.
And there's some important backstory here that we should probably go over.
Absolutely. Yeah, we have to remember that back in November 2023, CZ, he actually pled guilty to breaking some U.S. laws about money laundering.
Right.
Specifically, the Bank Secrecy Act.
Yeah, and this wasn't just some, small mistake.
No, totally.
The big issue wasn't just that they didn't have a program in place, but it was that they supposedly didn't have strong enough ways to, like, spot and report suspicious activity.
Right.
which is like super important under the Bank Secrecy Act
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the whole point.
to prevent stuff like money laundering and, terrorism finance.
Yeah.
So what the U.S. prosecutors were saying was that basically there was this big concern that this exchange didn't have a good enough system to actually stop, maybe some bad actors from moving money through the platform.
Yeah, the allegations were serious. They were basically saying that there was this gap in their control, like essential controls.
Mm-hmm.
And that could have led to some really big problems. And the plea agreement itself, I mean, that really shows you how seriously everyone was taking this whole thing.
Yeah. And as part of that deal, CZ, he got a 4-month sentence,
Yeah.
had to step down as CEO, and paid a $50 million fine,
Wow. Yeah.
which is, a lot of money. But also, we can't forget about the exchange itself. They agreed to a settlement of $4.3 billion.
Wow. That's huge.
Like, that's more money than some countries have.
I know, right?
It really puts it all into perspective.
It definitely shows you how important these violations were to the U.S. authorities.
Right. And even though CZ still owns a lot of the exchange, it's important to remember that he can't, directly manage or run the company anymore.
Right. He's not allowed.
So let's say he does get this pardon.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of impact could that have? How could that be a good thing?
Oh, I think it could be huge. I mean, imagine this. A pardon for CZ that basically takes away this big worry that regulators and, traditional financial institutions have.
Mm-hmm.
They're kind of hesitant to work with the exchange right now.
That makes sense.
But if he gets this pardon, suddenly it's like a clean slate.
Oh, I see.
And that could lead to new partnerships. It could make it easier to get licenses. It could really help them build up their presence in the U.S.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So on the other side of things, if the Trump family actually gets a stake in Binance.us, how could that change the crypto exchange landscape here in the U.S.? I mean, we've already got some big players, right?
Right.
But this would bring in a whole new, powerful competitor.
Yeah, and you have to think about, the Trump family. They're very well known.
Yeah.
They've got a lot of connections. So if they get involved in the U.S. crypto exchange world, it could really shake things up.
Yeah.
It could bring in a whole new energy.
Right.
It could create some good competition with the platforms that are already here.
Yeah.
And the market's still growing. It's getting more mature.
Right.
So this could attract all kinds of new users.
Right.
And they might come up with some really different marketing ideas, too. Who knows?
That's true. It's also interesting to hear that this major exchange, they've been planning a comeback in the U.S. market.
Mm-hmm.
And they've been especially focused on this since a certain election,
Right.
And it sounds like they're trying to find a way to, move past all these legal issues they've had.
Yeah.
And maybe they see teaming up with the Trump organization as a good way to do that.
It makes sense, right? They're looking for a way to solve all these problems. And working with someone like the Trump company, that's a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
So not only could they maybe fix the legal stuff, but they could also get a lot of attention.
Mm-hmm.
And people might start trusting them more here in the U.S.
Okay, so to recap, what we're seeing is this really interesting situation developing.
Yeah.
Where we've got the Trump family potentially getting involved with Binance.us.
Right.
And at the same time, CZ is trying to get a pardon.
Mm-hmm.
And all this is happening while this major exchange is trying to make a big comeback in the U.S. market.
Exactly. It's all connected.
It's like they're trying to re-enter the U.S. in a strategic way.
And we can't forget about the regulations in the U.S. They're changing all the time.
Yeah, that's true.
So this whole situation, it could really change how the crypto market works here in the U.S. in a good way.
It really makes you think,
Mm-hmm.
about how these old systems of power, like the traditional ways of doing things, are starting to connect with this whole new world of digital finance.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
And who knows what exciting things might happen as these two worlds get closer together. It's definitely something to keep an eye on.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us,
My pleasure.
and we'll see you next time.
See you later. Bye.